All right, this is the Stand Challenge update for day number 2, pre-launch, and there's about 10 days left before the actual launch on October 8th. So 8th, 31, maybe 11 days. So I spent a good part of the weekend as an update thinking about the different levels of products I want to build into the store. And after watching some videos on resources, they have a really good resource library of just kind of tips and tricks on what to build as a creator. Because as I mentioned, I'm more of the entrepreneur creator side than the creator entrepreneur side, if that makes any difference for anyone. But they recommend 3 different tiers of products, and one being a super early or low barrier to entry product, one in the middle, and then one at a higher price point. So where I've always been focused on for client direct has always been higher price point, because I just have to charge for my time. And so that's been 99% of what I do working directly with clients. So you're charging a premium at least you're charging what market is to be competitive, and you work directly with a client, whether it's hourly or retainer. And so that's really been my main product. And so I never really thought about what's the entry-level product that I want to create for other people that may not be able to afford working with me, and maybe what is the middle tier product. And I never thought about middle tier and lower tier. I always knew that I wanted to teach more people on what I do because I think it's super valuable, and I've actually done the work with clients and I've seen the results, but I wasn't really sure how to teach it other than doing a free webinar or a workshop. And what was really interesting to me is that, excuse me, hopefully I can take that out. What was interesting to me was the opportunity to create a community out of it, because I think that's really more important than directly selling something. Because I feel like directly selling something to somebody just feels too salesy, even though I highly believe in sales. But what is that community piece to it? And I always have loved coaching or mentoring, but never really thought about charging for it. And I've always thought about charging for it from a direct perspective, but I think the opportunity is, how is there a community opportunity where someone can pay a very low cost subscription for a month, but still get the resources and the benefits, maybe not as a one-on-one situation, but maybe as a one-to-many. And maybe that's in the form of a guide, a really comprehensive guide, not just like a one-pager PDF guide, but also like a living document guide. Because that's what I was thinking about for a very early tier, is a low cost, maybe even $5 a month, where it is a collective of marketers or creators, entrepreneurs that where I would teach around content creation, distribution, and the strategy of it. But it would be like a living document of all the different tools. And the biggest problem that I saw was that, or I see right now, is that I think at last when I checked, there are probably over 1,000, maybe more, tools for creators, whether you're trying to edit something or create shorts out of it. I think a new tool is coming up every other day. So not just a guide, but a living document of the ongoing changes, and maybe that updates monthly. And you can be part of a collective where we have a group that we can chat with. You can chat with other members. I may come on once a month and do an update with what I'm seeing in the market and some of the strategy that we need to kind of adjust to, because things just change too quickly within marketing, especially with digital and AI. Things just move at light speed. So I think a valuable community, not just having a static PDF, but a more live document, living document like a Notion board or a Coda board, would be super valuable. So I think, yes, I'm going to stick to that. I'm going to build that community, which will entail not just really focus on, hey, here's a newsletter or here's a guide, but here's a community that we can help each other out and really almost mentor each other. So that's one. And two, if there's a more pulling out of that, because I can tell anyone really how to do things. Here's the things that you should do, and or what to do. I think the middle tier is I have been sketching out a very specific workflow that I've used in clients and how to do the actual content creation and strategy and distribution. And I've sort of taken all the options that are out there in the world, and I've orchestrated the best tools that worked for me and that have worked the best for the clients that I was working with. So I think that's a middle tier where I could charge a little bit more to get access to again, I think a living document in terms of a digital course where I actually will do videos, not specifically live, but maybe once a month, do another like once a month check-in, but you'll get a comprehensive how to execute using the specific tools, specific strategies, and what to build from the big list of tools that have been out there. And that will be a little bit higher price point. I'm not sure all the price points right now because I'm kind of working through that before launch, which is coming up soon, but I really want to figure that out. And then the last tier, it could be not as probably expensive as I would come in as a interim marketing person, but it could be like a one-on-one. So the middle is not really one-on-one yet, it's one-to-many. So you're having one-to-many, but more focused. And then the third tier is an actual one-to-one mentoring, consulting, activation thing for maybe an hour or two. Much less expensive than what it would take for me to come in as a person to work on your team, because that honestly is what I'm trying to scale and not get out of, but to scale the value from the consulting exchange to something a little more scalable. So that's what I've been sort of sketching out over the weekend, and I think maybe I'll do a version here of going into the actual stand store because I found it pretty valuable. There are some things that I think could change, and they're looking for feedback, but all in all, like if you don't have a website, you don't have all these tools that you're looking to purchase, if you were to do a course or to gather emails, I fortunately was able to learn all that stuff previously, and I have done that before. All of these awesome tools have come out, but then again, there's been so many tools that have launched out there, so many options that it's gotten so confusing. And so I think the stand store is doing a really good job for those creators and entrepreneurs that really want to build something to sell, versus maybe, for instance, if you want to do a course, you're going to get Kajabi, Teachable, maybe do it on your own. You got to pay for that subscription. You have to pay for this, and and obviously, honestly, one of the biggest pushes for me to do this challenge was because of the relationship and partnership with Gary Vee. And obviously people want to be able to go and meet with him and his team for their business idea. But that's what I'm going to stick with for this challenge. The other ideas floating in my head are always there, and that's another maybe a video for tomorrow to talk more about the battle between which idea to take to the table for this challenge. And for me, I think I could scale, given my ideal customer profile for the products I want to build. I think I can scale it faster with the work I've been doing in services for clients and how to digitize it versus coming up with something totally new, which for everyone that has that sort of entrepreneur's dilemma, I think we're always thinking about new ideas, and the challenge is how do you stop yourself from thinking about that and focus on the ones that can actually execute. And I'm trying to do a better job of that right now. So more to come. I think a lot of this documentation also, I'm going to bring in some friends and coworkers and experts that are also in marketing, because I'm always trying to learn. And so maybe there'll be some really cool interviews I can take as we document. And so you can follow me on all channels. I'm actually putting the same, it's a real pressure test here. I'm going to put the same workflow of strategy, creation, and distribution against this challenge and see how it works. A lot of it, I'm a little bit scared because as I see the growing number of people join this challenge within the community board, the hub board, you know, I've taken a look at some of the folks there, and maybe you're watching here, and you guys are way bigger than I can be on social. I've seen someone in the 50,000 followers, and I'm sure you're building products already. So being top 10 revenue making is going to be super, super hard. Getting to the $555 to get into the raffle, I don't think it's going to be that difficult. It will still be difficult to get your first sale, but then you got to win the raffle to be one of the 5. I'm sure thousands of people will get into the raffle. So top 10, I'm not sure. I'm going to do my darndest to get there, but this is kind of what's going through my head on day 2. And we're back for day 3, kind of what I'm learning, how I'm building. I want to go into the stand store, and as I build out these things with you guys, start to launch it and show you what it actually looks like. So, all right, we'll see you guys tomorrow.